What's up, tea drinkers? Who's ready to spill? Welcome to The Tea with KG, hosted by your girl, Kaylee Grace. Here you'll find your weekly boost of real talk mixed with laughter, healing, and all of those vulnerable, messy moments in between. The Tea with KG is a safe space for you to show up exactly as you are. We are here to share real-life stories from around the globe and be a community of love, joy, and celebrating life. This is a real deal show, so there will be coarse language and sensitive topics discussed. The most beautiful stories oftentimes emerge from the darkest of places, and we're here to explore it all. There's room for everyone at this tea time, so grab your drink of choice, spark it up, or just relax and soak it up. Cheers, and let's spill. What's up, tea drinkers? We are back with another episode of The Tea with KG. I'm your host, Kaylee Grace, and we have another beautiful guest joining us today. I am so excited to have the lovely Danielle, or as she's known, Danni Robins, joining us today. Yay!
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. And she, as you can tell from that gorgeous accent, she's joining us from the UK. I'm so excited to have you. So Danielle and I met, or I keep saying Danielle, Danni and I met, it was like probably 10 years ago, like, I think, in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was 11 because I was 22. I'm now 33. So yeah, 11 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. And it's wild because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was, because that was such a fun trip. Like, we toured the North and South Islands of New Zealand. We were on this bus called Stray Bus Tours. Highly recommend. Super fun. Like, the bus driver knew all these cool spots to take us, and it was amazing. And we had a really good group of us for when we traveled, and it just made it way more fun.
Oh my God, we had the best crew because we stayed together for so long because people could get on and off, but we all just completely jammed together. So we just stayed on, didn't we? And just traveled both North and South Island together. And our bus driver, oh my God, I can't remember his name, but he was just amazing.
Was it Salty? Was his name Salty?
That's it.
Was it Salty? Okay.
Yeah, that was it. He was a legend. It was just so much fun. That was wild.
Oh my God, we definitely made the most of it for sure. Oh my God, I'm having a lot of flashbacks right now. Oh my God. Our bungee jump day, that was probably my favorite day when we bungee jumped. Everyone was so excited, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I wonder if that's still the highest in the world because it was at that point, wasn't it? I can't remember how high it was, but yeah, that was exhilarating and terrifying. And
I have the best picture of you after. You're just like, and
oh yeah, I know the one.
So cute.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you and I have like blue eyes, and I found our eyes got really red after, obviously, because we were upside down for so long. So cute.
Oh, I need to look back at those photos actually. Just go down memory lane.
I know, fun. Right? And it like reminds you too of like all the cool stuff you did, because sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh, I did do some cool stuff, didn't I?
Oh my God, I'm the worst. Like, my memory is terrible. Like, when I hook back up with like old school friends, it's like they tell me about this life. It was almost like a second life.
Yeah.
That I've forgotten about. That's what it feels like. My memory is just shocking. And that's the sad thing, isn't it? When you go traveling, because very rarely do you reconnect with the people that you've met on other sides of the world. So it's just like this individual memory that you don't get to share with anybody else, apart from moments like this.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And this is like what I love about when you travel like that, like getting to reconnect. And I'm like, my God, like we really we haven't connected legit in 11 years, and here we are. And that's the beauty of travel. So everyone, travel and meet cool people, because it's amazing.
Yeah. And stay connected, like at least on like your socials, because you just don't know when you're gonna properly reconnect again. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And when Danni and I connected, it was like the stars aligned, just the way with her business, which we're gonna get into, and with the podcast. It just was like the universe knew we needed to connect. And I love those moments too. So
like, I'm a big believer in synchronicity, and I feel like I put it out to the universe. I was like, right, I need to start talking more about what I'm doing. I need to get out there. And I was like, right, podcast, this is it. and I kind of wrote it down, but I hadn't done anything with it. And then you reached out to me, and I was like, whoa.
I live for those moments. Like, you manifested that shit. Like, you put it out there and the universe was like, okay.
Yes, especially when I feel like you're serving humanity, like it's for the greater good. And I feel like the universe has your back when you're in an alignment with yourself and your calling, your purpose. It's just reconfirming. Yeah, I love it. I've had it so much actually in my journey throughout. It's
me
incredible.
Too. I feel like we have the same brain right now, because like I agree. I could not agree more. When you, like you said, when you're serving humanity, when you're putting out good, when you're trying to help others, and that's when the universe is like, okay, I see you. Like, let's go. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, especially when you're having those days when things maybe, because it's not all the time, but just knowing you're like, okay, like this is my validation. This is a reconfirmation that I just need to keep pushing on,
Yes. And I feel like it's exactly right. Like, not every day is perfect, and we're human, right? We're still a soul and a human experience. So we're gonna have those moments, and it's also good because it's like, how bad do you really want to keep doing this? And like those hardships you encounter, it's like, no, I want this, and I'm gonna keep going. So it's always a great learning process with the good old universe.
Yes. Right. Do I believe in myself? Does the universe believe in myself? Yes. Keep going.
Yes. Oh, this is going to be good. I can already tell. We are on the same wavelength. All right, guys. So that's our little backstory. So we'll start off with the who are you and what do you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Danni Robins from London in the UK. I am a certified coach, and I am also a fatherless daughter and a fatherless daughter advocate, and lastly, founder of Be You Unlimited, which is my coaching practice. And I specifically work with fatherless daughters. And I actually want to take a moment to pause here and just elaborate a little bit about what fatherless daughters means, because, okay, a lot of my friends, myself included, are fatherless daughters, and fatherless could mean anything from death, divorce, neglect, dysfunction, abandonment. Okay, basically, if you haven't had a happy, healthy, fulfilled relationship with your father, that would be considered as fatherless, and then the fatherless daughter syndrome can manifest on the back of that. And the reason why I wanted to take a pause is because part of my mission and the work that I'm doing is actually raising awareness around the fatherless daughter syndrome and what that is, because many women don't identify with it. A lot of my friends who have had not great fathers in their lives wouldn't classify themselves as fatherless. Okay, so it's a big part of my job is to raise awareness around what that actually means. Now, I'm not a fan of the labels at all, but I do think it's important in the work that I'm doing that women are able to identify what they're experiencing to the cause.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Because I was looking at your website as well and reading a little bit about that, and I was like, oh, because some of it I was like, I resonated with. I was like, oh, like, so I think that's really important that you do that, for sure.
Yeah, and actually, statistically speaking, it's 1 in 3 women.
Wow.
Can identify as fatherless with the explanation.
Yes.
So I'm toying between, do I continue to keep plugging that and raising awareness, or do I move down more of the route of did you have a flawed father relationship? Because I don't want people to feel like I'm not speaking to them because of the term and the language that I'm using. So, I mean, I'd love to hear people's feedback if they are listening to this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, of what you think or how I should move forward with the language and with the brand.
I love that. Yes. Okay, tea drinkers, at the end, we'll be plugging every way you can connect with Danni. And yes, if this is resonating with you, or if you have feedback, like she said, she's open to it. So feel free to message and connect, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, please. I'd love that.
Wow, that's cool. And I love too that you're open to, evolving with it and moving with it and figuring out what works best. That's great.
Oh, completely. I mean, the work that I'm doing and my business, it is focused around my clients. It has to be, and I'm here to serve them, and my program is around them. It's completely bespoke and tailored individually to every single one of my clients, because all our journeys are completely unique.
That's right.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And is all your coaching one-on-one? Do you do group stuff too, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, at the minute it's one-on-one, because I'm a sort of early in my business. Eventually I will move to having a bit of more of a dynamic practice where I've got one-on-one and group. I spent a lot of time doing market research and speaking to different fatherless daughters with different relationships with their father or lack of. And something that they all had mentioned is that they do crave this sense of community. They've gone through something that makes them feel very isolated, and they want to feel like they're not alone. And I would love to be able to provide that, and provide that platform, a safe container for women to come together and share their experience, but also in like in a really healthy way, not to be bashing their fathers or being in victim mode. And because I can see a lot of groups do that, and there's a lot of colluding going on, and I don't see it as helpful. So
no, that's not the way forward. I completely agree. Because like, yes, you can state what has happened, but it doesn't have to turn into focusing that your residual feelings. Like, yes, feel your feelings, but you, like you said, you don't have to bash people in the process, because it's not healthy. It just turns into toxicity, and that's not what you want. Like, you want people to find the root, but be able to move through that and heal through that and find their way. So I love that you're about like this. There's a reason we are connected, because that is 100% what I'm about and what our listeners are about. Like, it's not this is a safe space too. So it's not about toxicity and like that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like my journey, my coaching journey is about love, acceptance, and forgiveness. And that would be the type of community that I want to cultivate eventually. But yeah, right now it is one-on-one, so I can do really deep work and really understand my clients and their needs.
That's great.
Over a 6-month period, so it is quite a deep process that we're going through.
Wow, I love that, because also too, like, I think maybe once people start their healing journey, they may be more open to being in a group, but maybe at first it is scary or it is unknown, and it's like, what's going on here? So it's beautiful that you do the one-on-one, because I know for me, like, I feel like I've come quite a way in my journey, so I would now be comfortable in a group, but at first I would be like, nope, me and you're my person. I don't want to talk about this with someone else. Like,
oh my God, completely. And you know what, I forget, because coaching has been my world for the last 2 years, and naturally as a person I just love new people, talking to new people. I'm probably an oversharer. Like that's just my personality type. So yeah, like I'll probably leave this conversation and be like, oh, I went too far.
No, there's no such thing. We love it here. Yes.
I'll let
share
you know,
away.
Yes, I shared. But a lot of people aren't in that space. It's not natural for them to talk to a stranger about their past, things that they have buried away and put in a box. It's put in a box for a reason, because it's something that they struggle to deal with emotionally. So yeah, to be able to expect women to open up like that, I think it is a big challenge for people, that first initial step. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. And I feel like you and I are a lot alike, because I also sometimes I'm like, ooh, I feel like I said too much there.
People don't know what to say back.
Right? Like, oh, I just bore my soul to you. Here it is. Like, and that's true. There are a lot of people who are much more like, no, you don't get that information that easily.
Yeah. And especially with this topic, I find, because a lot of my clients are kind of my age. They're like mid-30s, and they've lived this way their whole lives. We're talking about the relationships that they had with their father when they were children,
Yes.
So it's almost like, why now? Why would I act now when it's something that I have dealt with and it's become part of my identity and who I am? So then trying to unpack that, it's heavy and scary and uncomfortable, and also something that you could just park and just continue doing what you're doing,
Living on autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And I find too, because like I just turned 34 May 11th, so we're around the same age. We grew up in the same time frame.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I feel like when we grew up, like these types of things were not spoken about. There were so many topics that, yes, they're talked about now, thank God, because they should be. But when we grew up, you would never find resources like this, like easily. And I just think it's beautiful that you're bringing light to something that so many of us need to heal from. And when you finally can take the heaviness and put that baggage down and open it up, and like you said, start to unpack it. It's not going to be pretty, guys. I'm not saying it's going to be a great, beautiful, fluffy journey with all the beautiful rainbows and butterflies. If it was, I would be here for it. It's not. And I'm just speaking from my own story. It's some of the most painful things you can deal with. But once you start to move through that, it makes it easier to process things moving forward. Maybe you get triggered by certain things and you'll notice that either they don't trigger you anymore or it's not as intense. That's what I love, when you can kind of start to see the work working. You're like, oh, okay. And it's not so heavy anymore. And it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're just speaking, then the analogy I was thinking of is like, it's like a hike. When you put your rucksack on, you go hiking, you're committed and you're dedicated. Yeah, it's hard. That's part of it, like hard things are rewarding. And when you get up to that summit and you're like, wow, I did that for me, and you have a brand new perspective and you're like a new person. And it's all worth it. And then you get to enjoy that summit down, feeling super proud of yourself, like you've accomplished something.
Yes.
And I think that is what coaching is like, Yeah, for sure.
I love that. That's a beautiful analogy. And the thing is, too, for all of those people out there doing the work, or maybe you're just starting your journey, give yourself credit, because it's brave enough to even do that. So give yourself a little round of applause, everyone, because you deserve it. And I know, again, I only can speak from my own journey, but I found sometimes I did not give myself that positive, like, ooh, yes, girl, you just worked through that. I was in that mindset of, oh, you should be further ahead, should. And I'm like, no, you're going to celebrate this. And I know myself, I respond really well to positive reinforcement. So I was like, give yourself that positive reinforcement, because doing the work is not easy, and you go, girl.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like everybody needs to celebrate themselves more.
Absolutely.
But all the tiny little things as well, because all those tiny steps turn into big steps.
Yes.
And even if you're just thinking about doing the work, you're starting to, manifest more self-awareness about where you are in your journey, and maybe things could change, or you want to make changes. Like, amazing. First step.
Yes. So, oh my God. I'm loving this so much, because we are the same person. I'm like, yes. It's so good. Oh my gosh. I guess we'll get to we want to know your story. Like, how did you get to where you're at now? So you can take us back however far you'd like to go. We love to hear it, and we want to overshare.
It's so funny, because I'm part of lots of different networking groups, and I often have to tell my story. I enjoy telling my story, but obviously different audiences have, you tailor your story accordingly. So it's a bit like, oh, where do I start with this? So, okay. So in terms of my story of why I've ended up here, I work with fatherless daughters because I am one, and I'm sure you've probably picked on that up already throughout our conversation. Now, I grew up in a nice house, nice estate. From the outside, probably looked very normal. But actually, you know, my dad, I didn't have a relationship with my dad at all growing up, you know, and I'm sure it's really similar for a lot of people. He was just like the breadwinner, he was at work. My mum worked quite a lot as well, actually. And I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail about him and his behaviour because it's not what it's about, and I don't want to, you know, shame him. But to kind of sum that up, there was definitely neglect there. There was dysfunction from his side. I felt like I had to parent him. I took on a lot very early on. I grew up really quickly. You know, by 12, I was living in my dad's house. My mum and dad had separated. He was out all the time. And I was almost like this little mini adult, you know, drinking and doing drugs and having my boyfriend over and partying at like 12. That was
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy when I look at 12-year-olds now, you know, I'm like, whoa, like that was young. That was really young. So yeah, basically I just got catapulted into adulthood with all this responsibility and feeling like I had to look after my dad emotionally after not having a relationship with him at all growing up, like feeling really disconnected and actually being quite fearful of him. I grew up in fear. Like there was a lot of fear and abuse as well in between, you know, my mum and dad's marriage. So yeah, not a great upbringing. Catapulted into adulthood. And then luckily my mum, actually my dad kicked me out of the house. The reason that I mention that is because that was something that I got triggered a lot in my adult relationships. You know, when you have an argument and someone tells you, you know, that to leave or they leave, that was such a big trigger for me.
Yes.
So I ended up living with my mum. She took me in. And then I didn't really have a relationship with my dad after that. I decided that that wasn't a good relationship for me. That didn't serve me. He wasn't in a good place and wasn't in a position to take responsibility of his actions and his behaviour. He blamed a lot of the outside world onto his problems, you know, very much in victim mode. And I haven't really had a relationship with him since. Okay, so that's kind of my upbringing. The way that it had affected me, like growing up, you know, I stayed in relationships for longer than what I should have. I definitely went after guys that kind of replicated my father's behaviour in terms of he was emotionally absent and dysfunctional. I've mirrored that behaviour quite a lot, and it's quite very obvious to see now from looking at my past relationships.
Interesting when you look back, eh? Hindsight's 20/20.
Oh my God,
they say. Yeah. I'm so hard with what you're saying. I'm like, yep. I was like, I totally get it.
Like when you start pulling on that thread and you start to just see how everything's connected, it's fascinating and terrifying, right? You know, at the same time.
100%.
Of course, yeah. And I fiercely independent. You know, I've traveled a lot in my life because I felt like I never had roots. I never had a home. Maybe a bit lost, you know, to that sense. You know, I'm kind of seeking some kind of validation, some kind of home, realizing, you know, that's only within. You know, that took me a long time to realize that. And, you know, I suppose at the root of everything is that, you know, I'm not good enough. Always strive, you know, my achievements dictate my self-worth. That's still something that I'm working on, you know.
I feel you, girl.
Which is heavy when that's wrapped up in your identity, because you realize that there's so much that you're not in control of, and therefore then your happiness is being controlled by external environment, you know, external things. So that's a journey. So I've been on a massive journey from obviously my childhood, all of these things happening to me, being fiercely independent, high achiever. You know, I went to university, moved to London, very, very unhappy there actually. Went traveling for 3 years. because I was trying to seek, and I went on a, seek home, seek refuge, seek happiness.
Yeah.
And I did a huge amount of work on myself. Actually, my traveling turned into a bit of a spiritual quest.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it just evolved. Again, this was one of the things I feel like the universe was kind of on my side. Like there was all this like synchronicity that just happened on that trip. I mean, that's a whole other podcast to go into that.
Danny will be back.
To synchronicity, yeah. It was crazy what I was putting out there and what was actually happening. But I went to go for 6 months, ended up going for 3 years. Solo adventure. Ended up being in the Amazon, sitting for ayahuasca.
Oh my God. I want to know more about that, because that I am so intrigued by.
Yeah, that was the beginning of my healing journey.
I was going to ask you that. I was like, when did it click? Like, when did it start? And that is so cool. Wow.
Yeah. So I guess it was being in the corporate career, like having everything on paper. I was living in London. I had a good salary.
It's
I
kind
had
of like
friends and family, a social life. I wasn't happy.
Yeah, it's like what you said, like when you were younger, from the outside, it looked perfect, but on the inside, it was like, no.
Yeah, and that was that. And I had this calling that I needed to leave. And
you can't fight that feeling, right? Like when you just feel it in your bones, you're like, I gotta go. I felt the same way going to Australia after uni. I was like, I don't know why. I just know I have to go. And that was the same. I mean, a lot is, we're going to have another episode because like a lot's happened since all that. But now I'm in Vancouver, and I'm originally from the East Coast of Canada. But same thing. There was a lot of massive shifts in my life. And I just knew, my soul knew, you need to be in Vancouver. That's where you're supposed to be. And I just went. I was like, and here I am. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. When you feel that calling deep in your gut, follow it.
You have to go. And it will keep coming back up until you make the move and take that leap and be courageous. And it takes so much courage, and it's so much scary. So much scary. So much scary. It's like my inner child came out then.
Yeah. I love it.
But so I ended up sitting for ayahuasca, doing actually 5-MeO DMT, spending a huge amount of time in ashrams. I spent a year in India. I came across some incredible gurus.
Was this after New Zealand?
Yeah, so New Zealand, and that was when I was 22. That was 6 months. And then I left when I was 27 for South America.
Cool.
And then ended up, like I say, it was meant to be a 6-month trip, and it ended up into 3 years. And India was really, really profound for me, where I did like a lot of my healing. Ended up going to satsang and with Muji Baba, some people might be familiar with him, but that was like 6 weeks. It was just incredible. And actually sitting with him, I had moments where he would be describing consciousness, and it brought me back to my ayahuasca trip. So it's almost like I did things kind of back to front. Like I had this incredible experience that I couldn't make sense of, because that was at the very beginning of my spirituality. And since I've moved forward, I'm like, that's what that was.
Yes. It all makes sense, right? Oh my God, I literally have goosebumps the whole time you're talking. This is magical. I live for this kind of story. Like I do. I just think it's so cool and interesting, because there's so much that can be unpacked. And it's like you said, when you pull that thread, it's like, whoa, fascinating and terrifying.
And it just keeps going. Like, the work's almost like never done. It's like the more that you pull, the more that you find there. And it's
exactly. And healing's not linear. That is like my favorite saying. It's not going to be like this. It's like a wave. It's like just ride the wave.
And you'll hear like that kind of happened in my journey. Like after being in India, and I did Vipassana, 10-day meditation retreat, did my yoga teacher training, ashrams after ashrams, and then I ended up back in London. Like I just did all this work, and I was back at working for the same company with the same
back where it all started.
And I did that for 2 years, and those 2 years were the hardest, because I knew I knew I was my new self, and I didn't know how to apply it. I didn't know how to apply this new version of myself, this better version of myself, this more profound version of myself, this person that had healed. I just felt back into my old routine, and instead of investing in running away, I invested in coaching at that point to help me create action in my life, because that was what I was missing, you know. It was like, you know, self-awareness is one thing, but applying it is where your reality changes.
Oh, totally. And like it starts with the self-awareness, but actually taking those steps to do the do, that's the hard part. Like, wow.
Really hard. And I couldn't do it on my own. I didn't know how to do it on my own. I didn't. And my coach has been amazing. You know, she has literally changed my life. And now we work together and collaborate. And again, another synchronicity. I just feel like the universe has sent me her. Like, she's literally like an angel.
She's your earth angel. I believe in earth angels 100%. And like those soul connections that you make, you can't deny them. You just know, you feel them. You're just like, I know you. We've known each other somewhere before.
Yeah, very much so. Past life. Yeah. She was sent to me for a reason. So
I'm gonna get emotional. I'm just like, you're getting me with the feels here, girl. I love it.
Yeah.
So how did you find your coach? Like, is that like, you said you went into coaching. Did you meet her first and then went into coaching yourself, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I was in my corporate job, and I loved it. And it's actually kind of similar to coaching. I worked in business development as an account manager. And, you know, I was there to really understand hospitality hotels, what their needs were, and then help them grow, you know, which is kind of what I do with my clients. You know,
the people version.
The people, which is way more my bag. You know, that's
way
my
better.
Calling.
That's your jam.
I'm just like fascinated with human beings, and also like, why are we here?
Oh my God, yes. Okay, we're gonna have a whole series on this podcast with just you. It's gonna be the Danni series, because everything you're saying is speaking to my soul. I'm like, yes.
yes. So it all made sense, you know. So I found her, and literally after 3 sessions, I was like, oh my God, coaching is my calling. Like, it's just so obvious now. And she helped me find the courage to leave the corporate world, to invest into coaching. That's again.
Brave. That is so
really
brave.
scary. Really scary. And I did it straight away. You know, I left the corporate world, invested in my training, set up my business. And I've been working with her ever since. And she's supported me from like career coaching, but now she actually coaches coaches.
Wow.
And I helped her on that journey, and I've been almost like, I guess, a bit of inspiration to her to pivot in her business. So, you know, we're both really supporting one another.
Beautiful.
Journey. So, and she's also a fatherless daughter. So and the weird thing is, like, I can't remember when I came up with this niche, you know, fatherless daughters. I can't remember what the process was. It was literally like it landed in my brain. Like,
it was just there.
It was, wow. And I remember telling her for the first time, and she started to well up, because she's like, oh my God, you know, that's me. This is it. And there's just not many people working in this space, which just blows my mind.
Like, agreed, because it's like so important.
Yeah, so important, so prevalent. It impacts so many. I think the awareness isn't there. Maybe that's why, you know, I'm having to almost like create a movement. You know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with ADHD, but there's a lot of awareness around that now. You know? People identifying with it. There's a huge shift. It's trending all over all the social platforms, like TikTok especially. And I feel like Fatherless Daughters could be that next thing, where people didn't know what it was, but they're soon going to be able to identify with it and want to do the work.
I agree, because like what I really loved is how you explained it's not just if you didn't have a father figure, it's that plus more. Like, there's so much more to it.
There's a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
for
Oh my
sure. And
God. Yeah.
actually, something that I like to use, like a model with my clients, is like the 4P model. So what, it's your essential needs that you need from your father. So did he provide you with protection? Did he provide you with provisions? Did he provide you with praise? And did he provide you with presence?
Wow. Ooh, I like that. Listen to that, guys. 4 Ps.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just using that model to help you understand, okay, what was it that was missing for me in terms of
Yeah.
my needs as a child, and how is that showing up for me now? Like,
Oh my
what
God,
does it
yes.
make?
What I was reading too on your Instagram, which I feel like flows right into this, is your attachment styles. And I feel like that is so
Yeah.
directly linked to exactly what you just said. And a lot of people aren't aware of their attachment styles. But once you are aware of them and look back, you're like, oh, I can see exactly what I was doing in that relationship with that person, even with yourself. Like, I just know, well, when you knew me, I was 100% numbing my pain from stuff with my dad. And yeah, the more you're speaking, I'm just like, oh God, like I'm totally resonating with some of this. And yeah, it's been such a journey. And I find some of those wounds are very deep within me, and they have been the hardest for me to heal. And it's almost like I take a step forward and 2 steps back sometimes. And that can be challenging too, because you're like, why is this still something that I am triggered by? And yes, made progress, like so much progress, but it's still present, or it still likes to kind of creep in there. Like betrayal wound for me is a big one. And with relationships, there's times where, that's just my automatic reaction is you're going to betray me. And I'm like, but they're not. Like, you have to let that go. So yeah, it's definitely been a big process for me with that particular wounding.
Yeah, I completely hear you. And I think sometimes it is that awareness. You're shining a light on something that's been kept in the dark for a very long time. And then it's all of a sudden you've got all this awareness about all your faults and the things that you want to change about yourself. And having to sit with that can be really difficult when you don't have the tools of like, okay, well, how do I move forward with this now? Like, I'm aware of it. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah, exactly. And that can be an overwhelming process if you're not, like you just said, like if you don't have the tools, and it can sometimes deter people from going for it. So for everyone listening, if you feel like you are afraid to start because you don't know where to start, because yes, it is overwhelming. There is so much information out there, and it's like, where do I even begin? Danielle, she can help you kind of sift through all that, and figure out with it without being overwhelmed. She can give you some tools. So I just think it's beautiful that you offer that to people, because we're all at the end of the day just walking each other home. So, why not be there for each other? And that's what you're doing. And it's so beautiful. Like, you're doing your light work on earth, and that's beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, that
It's
was so
true.
beautiful. You just said that's so nice. And yeah, I mean, for anybody that is resonating with this and can identify with anything that we've spoken about, I do offer a complimentary coaching call for
Wow.
anyone that reaches out, and that call is really there for us to obviously connect, for me to really understand about your situation with your relationship with your father, or the lack of relationship with your father, and just to understand, okay, how is that showing up for you now? How is that affecting you? How do you want things to be, and what is your challenge? What is holding you back from moving forward on your own? And that's going to help me understand, is there something that I can do to support you in that journey to make that vision a reality for you? So the first step is really about creating, awareness. And then obviously, if I feel like you are a good fit and my program could support you, then I'll invite you to speak about that further, and I can break that down and talk about how I tailor that to you. But it might be a case of, or you might need therapy, for example. You might need to be like signposted, because there is a fine line, and I'm not a therapist, so I'm not pretending to be one either. It's really important that I I'm really ethical in the work that I do.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
yeah. My domain, you know. Or it might be something that, you know, you feel like you're not ready for. And, you know, you have to be ready to go through this journey.
Yes.
Yeah. But, you know, just that first call, you know, hopefully I can help you anyways, in wherever you're at in your journey. Hopefully that can.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Like, not only complimentary, that's amazing. I love that you said you want to make sure it's the right fit. Like, that just shows your beautiful soul. And like, I love that because I like to live and breathe very ethically as well. So I just think that's so important because there's a lot of people out there who are not like that. And that's just not genuine to me. And you're so like I know everyone listening or watching on YouTube, they're gonna see you're just this beautiful little sunshine. Like it's just, it's true.
You.
Like you're so genuine, and you've always. I mean, my God, we knew each other a lifetime ago, but I felt that from you even then. So I just think that's amazing that you offer that. Like, I'm just like I feel so emotional, but in a good way. I'm just like, whoo, getting the feels out today. Oh my God. Isn't it good? The good old healing journey. Do you have any like I love that you mentioned the 4 Ps. Do you have like I'm gonna call them mindset tips. You could call them whatever you want. Do you have like, I don't know, like your top 3, doesn't have to be 3, or maybe just your top tip, or like what would be something you would say to people who are starting their journey? Maybe they're in it. What would be your top thing you would say to them just as a tip?
My top thing would be really understanding what your belief system is, because what you think and that voice that we have in our head, you know, we've constantly got an ongoing dialogue, and often
all the time
it is negative and not true.
Preach.
Uh,
It loves to tell us. I call it do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race? The inner saboteur likes to tell us stories.
Yeah. Okay. So like really understanding what your saboteurs are. And just, start to really tune in, because it's crazy how we can not even realize what we're telling ourselves. We're just on pilot mode and we're not sure all of a sudden why we're feeling the way that we are. You know, we can be feeling emotional shit. Like, what are we telling ourselves? Why are we creating, you know, these emotional feelings within us? So yeah, first of all, just try and tune in and become present with the voice inside your head. And ask, where is that coming from? What evidence do you have? And how is this thought serving me?
Ooh, yes, okay. Queen. Oh my gosh, yes.
Because your thoughts create your reality, right?
Yep.
And you're in this cycle where your thoughts create your reality, and then your reality will reinforce your thoughts. And not only do your thoughts create your reality, but it also creates your physiology as well. So, you know, we can all think of something sad, stressful, and you can start to evoke, you know, that on a body level. You know, you could start to feel anxious, your chest can start to feel tight, you could well up, your hands can start sweating. Like, again, just become in tune with how your body and your mind are related to one another. You know, and you start to see the power of your mind but you can reverse it, you know, the same way that you're telling yourself something negative. And when you start to challenge that, then start to think about, okay, well, what is the reality that I want to create for myself, and what do I need to tell myself to make that happen?
Yes, another time for the people in the back. Like, yes. It's so true, because like we talk a lot here about manifesting, and like those are positive thoughts. And I believe 1000. I mean, we talked earlier, I was like, I manifested my dog. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if people can believe in that, you have to bring the realization to those negative thoughts too. And like, we're all, like you said, guilty of it. We all do it. It's just, like you said, it's autopilot. Your brain is, or my brain is like a million kajillion thoughts all the time. Just my brain is like, oh my God, if people could see in here, they'd be like, whoa, there's a lot going on in there. But it's so true. And like, I have 100% retrained my brain in certain ways, like with I'm like maybe my body image or whatever. There could be a million things, like fear for trying something new, whatever it is. It's not saying maybe that retraining will be instantaneous, because like it's a neurological pathway, and like you didn't that thought didn't start overnight. The reprocessing is not going to happen overnight either. You have to like work pretty hard. And I find with me sometimes, if my brain, like we were talking about that betrayal kind of thing that I work through, my brain wants to go that way, I have to like stop it immediately, or I'm going down the rabbit hole and it's hard to get out of there. So if you can find a way where you're like, nope, we're not doing that, and then think of like you said, what do you want to achieve or whatever, and it's like, no, I have, love or trust or whatever, like you gotta do that.
Absolutely. And this is science. I know for many people it can sound like a little bit woo-woo, like having positive affirmations, your thoughts become your reality, like, yeah, sure, okay. But no, it's actually neuroscience, like, yes. And it's about creating like new neural pathways with positive reinforcement. And I mean, again, that could be a whole other podcast talking about that.
It's so funny. My dog is like making an appearance, and here's a great example. When you're training a dog, positive reinforcement, they learn, oh, that's good. And then, something naughty, they learn, oh, that's bad. Because it's like, no, don't do that. Oh my God. He must love your energy. He's like literally resting his head on my shoulder right now.
Where's Bowie? Where's my dog? Where's the shit?
Yeah, we need a dog party.
Come on.
Hi, puppy.
Come in.
We love a puppy party.
I know. Usually she's up here. Okay. There she is.
Oh my God, she's so fuzzy. What's her name?
Bowie. After David
Oh my
Bowie.
God. I love that. She's gorgeous. Hi, Bowie. Hello, beautiful. I love how fuzzy she is. Oh my gosh. Everyone needs to watch the YouTube, because you're gonna see two adorable puppy. Well, I'll call him a puppy forever. He's not a puppy, but
I know, I'm the same. She's like 16 months. I'm like, she's still my puppy.
Yeah.
So first of all, like really understanding like the negative, unhelpful thought that you've got going on. Would definitely be my top tip, and trying to get the evidence to establish whether that is true. And then I also like just understand like you need to name that saboteur.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I love that so much, because like and I find too, like even naming feelings takes the power away a little for me, because it's like identifying, this is what this is. I'm like, I'm triggered right now because of this, and it helps. It really does.
Yeah. Rationalize it.
I like that. What's your saboteur's name?
Yeah, so interestingly, I'm doing a course at the minute called Positive Intelligence, and it's all about working with saboteurs and then shifting into Sage. So actually, like, I can actually talk about it quite a lot. But there's actually 10 saboteurs, and everybody's top saboteur is the judge.
Ooh.
Which I know, really interesting, right? Because I'm like, I'm not a judgmental person at all. So I was like, that's not my saboteur. But it's everybody's top one. It's not, you judge yourself.
Yes.
You judge circumstances and other people. And once you start realizing that is everybody's top saboteur, it becomes so loud, and you're really aware of your inner dialogue, and you're like, whoa. And then you've got your like accomplice saboteur. I mean, they all exist in our mind, but they rank. So my accomplice,
I love that,
the judge, is I'm a hyperachiever. So again, my achievements dictate my self-worth.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm like, I want to know all of it now. Like, where are they? And it's interesting, like you said, that the judge ranks highest. And I feel the same, because I'm like, I'm not a judgmental person towards others, but like you said, towards myself, hugely judgmental towards myself. And you don't even realize it. I was like, oh, I'm just being hard on myself. I'm like, no, you're judging yourself now that you say that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, if you wanted to shift, from out of saboteur into Sage. So Sage could be, having empathy and
Yeah.
being innovative, being commanding, being discerning. These are other ways that you can shift to find your way forward without it being
Wow.
negative and destructive. So
That's
yeah.
cool. So how many, did you say there was a certain number of saboteurs? Did you say there was 10?
Yeah.
What
There's
are they?
10.
I'm just curious.
Okay, I'll share them with you because they're on
Yeah.
my app.
That's very interesting to me. I'm like, oh.
And then the way that you are able to shift from saboteur, which is, that's that neurological pathway that we have created, which someone had described to me as a really good analogy. It's like taking a bicycle and cycling through mud. You're just creating a deeper and deeper reinforced mud track of negativity. And that becomes your route. If you're walking through a forest, that's your automatic route. And now we want to create a new positive one that's full of light and love, and that takes work. But in order to do that, we need to become present.
Yes.
We need to be aware of it. We need to become present. We need to come into our body. And then we need to choose which stage we want to move into that's going to support us. So in terms of saboteurs. Okay, so like I said, judge first, hyperachiever. Now these are in my order, so don't judge me. Then there's
Put the
pleaser.
judge away.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the third one? Pleaser,
controller, avoider, stickler, restless, victim, hyper rational, and hyper vigilant.
Wow. Like literally just you saying some of those things. I'm like, yep. Like I think pleaser would probably be high for me. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Achiever too. There was another one you said, I can't think of it now, but yeah, that's interesting. I'm like, I need to know more. I need to dig further. Cause like, I've heard of naming your saboteur, like actually giving it a human name. So you could be like,
yeah,
hey.
that's helpful too.
Yeah, but I've never found a name that really resonates. And I think I really need to feel the name for me to be like, yeah, that's your name. Because I've tried a few out and I'm like, that doesn't feel right. But I like that better because that makes more sense in my brain because it gives it, this is what this one is. This is what this one is. I like that a lot. Wow.
And in terms of the sage, for you to be able to shift, you've got empathize, explore, innovate, navigate, and activate.
I love all those words. Those are all great words. Ooh, yes. And I like that you say sage. Is it like actually in reference to like sage, like saging some? Is that what
I actually don't know. I think of it as sage as in like a Hindu guru, like a sage.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I think that's amazing because saging is such a cleansing experience. So that is amazing. That's the best. Oh my God. I'm going to be like moving forward saying that. I'd be like, Danny taught me this. I'm saging this. This is not what's going on. That's
honestly, it's amazing, and it's so great to unpack it. I'm doing like I think it's like a 7-week course at the minute, but anyone can go on. It's Positive Intelligence is the name of the website, and there's a quiz there. So I highly recommend going in, doing the quiz, and establishing what your saboteurs are.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. Positive Intelligence, that's the website?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'm definitely going to do that because like I have an idea, but I'm very curious of where it actually falls.
Ranks, and you've got like a scaling system on 1 to 10, so you can really start to understand how they're all at play, with one another. But and I mean this, when you're starting to change your thought process, this is what creates long-term change.
Yes. And like, even just, I know we've said self-awareness a lot, but that awareness of what that's like saboteur is, I'm very excited. I'm going to go on the site after we're done. I'll be like, okay, let's see what's going on. And I can tell you right now, I know this is going to help me because when I'm having a human moment, as we all do. So don't be hard on yourself, guys, because we literally, every single one of us have them. Even if you are well into your journey, we still have those days. But now I can be like, okay, judge, enough. I'll be like, we're not doing this today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and it is just so liberating to be like, okay, I am actually able to like take control of this situation right now.
That is so powerful. Oh my gosh, yes. Because, like,
Yeah.
especially too, if someone feels very out of control in that way, or not supported, or alone, or whatever the case may be, to have your own back is so important. But to know, like, okay, I'm doing something to help myself right now, and I do have some self-control over this situation.
Yeah.
It's really
So
good.
almost like to, like, mother or parent, I was gonna say mother or father and parent yourself.
Yeah. Self-soothe.
Uh,
Yeah.
self-soothe. And I guess, like, in terms of, you said 3, the last one, which would be really complementary to the first 2 things that I've mentioned, would be to meditate.
Yes, girl.
And just find the right meditation for you. There's so many different types.
Yeah.
And I meet people that there's so much resistance with meditating, and I was there too. I completely go, but now I love it. Like I really enjoy it. And sometimes I hate having to come out of it. And like, I'm human. I don't do it every day. Sometimes I have a really strong practice. Sometimes it's non-existent. But it does, in terms of coming back to yourself, creating that self-awareness to understand the thoughts that are going on. If you don't give yourself time to be present, you're not going to be able to catch those thoughts, and you're just going to be in pilot mode, self-sabotaging, being triggered left, right, and center. So it is really there as a tool for you.
Absolutely.
In that journey.
I find too, like, when I do yoga, I get in some of the deepest meditations. And I think, speaking of ADHD, I think it's because I'm focusing on something at the same time. Like, I find, like, when I'm working, like, I need to have something else going on. It helps me focus. I know that, but yeah, it just does. And I literally, like, when I'm done yoga, I'm like, I feel like I am on drugs right now, because I'm so deep
yoga
in it.
stoned.
Right?
Yeah.
And like guided meditation. So I offer some guided meditations through this podcast or on YouTube. That can help too, because you're listening to someone else kind of guide you through. So if you do have a hard time meditating, because it's hard to turn the brain off. It is very hard. Like, it's a practice for sure. Try those out, and it can be as short or as long as you like Danni said. Like, you don't have to go in there being like, I'm going to meditate for an hour. No, like, a minute, even a minute is still
exactly
something.
Just start to build it up. And that's something that we do with this course, to be able to shift. And you're working on really small increments of different types of meditation. It could be visual meditation, it could be sensual meditation, sound. That when you start researching it, you see all the different types. Essentially, it's about getting out of your head, not switching it off, because it's impossible to do, but just like getting in your body. And when you notice that your mind is racing, just come back to your breath, or come back to the sound, come back to whatever it was that was taking you in the mind. But
so true. I find the breath such a powerful tool. And like, some people, they laugh at me, they're like, well, of course you have to breathe. I'm like, no, I don't mean like that. I mean intentional breathing. There's a difference between breathing and intentional breathing. And once you really get into it, for me anyway, I found that a really helpful tool, because like, that's where I put my focus, and it feels good. It feels good. Sometimes my boyfriend will laugh at me. He's like, why did you just sigh? I'm like, I just had to breathe. Like, it just felt good. I just needed it. Like,
oh my God, yeah. For to deregulate, like your nervous system, I find breath work and cold water therapy the most powerful.
We've just started doing that, and like, I'm very expressive too, but when it comes to things I'm not comfortable with, it's like I'm quiet. So he'll like, we'll get in like a steam room, and then we'll go to the cold shower, and he's like, and I'm just like, silence, and I'm just in the zone. I'm like, okay. Same with like, if I get tattoos or something, I'm completely silent. Like, that's how I don't know, works for me.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, for me, it's like a high. It's like it's such a rush, visceral experience. Yeah, it definitely takes you out your head and into your body. For sure.
Real quick. Yeah. And ways people can do that too. Even like, I don't I get in the shower because I want to be warm and comfy, but a really good way is at the end of your shower, just put the cold on,
Oh
even
yeah.
just for a second. And that's a way you can kind of wean into it. If you aren't familiar with cold therapy, yeah, it's shocking to the body.
Yeah, do you know what? I can really recommend the Wim Hof app. And I think the cold water section of the app is completely free, and he helps you build it up like incrementally, like each day, 30
Ooh.
seconds.
What's the
And
app
then
called again?
I think it's Wim Hof.
Okay, cool.
And then he also guides you through his breath work. So yeah, if I'm ever in a funk, if I notice my energy's off, or if I'm feeling a bit anxious, you know, that's my first like go-to is like the Wim Hof breath work. Or when I'm having a shower, it's like, right, I'm doing this, I'm putting the cold on, and it works. It does. It's like magic, honestly.
It's so
Everyone
true. And I'm a believer in magic, but like you said, it's not just magic, it's also science.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. This has been such a good conversation. I feel like we could literally talk for like 5 hours. It's so good.
I know. How long's it been? I haven't even known.
It's been an hour.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. Do you have any like final words of wisdom for us? Any quotes you like or anything from the heart?
Do you know what? I do. I have this quote that it's in the back of my program, but I send out to clients that are interested in working with me. And it's by Brene Brown.
Yes, we love Brene Brown. Yes.
Yay! So you
She's
don't
so
need
smart.
me to tell you who she is.
No, we do. Oh yeah, go for it. Yes, because like some people listening may not know. So go. You can let us know.
Okay, so she is a researcher of vulnerability, basically, and she's like, just Google her. Like she's done amazing TED Talks. She's actually got one of her TED Talks on Netflix. She's an incredible storyteller, researcher, PhD. But yeah, so something like a quote, like she's just got so many amazing ones. But
she does. She has so many. Like
it's hard to choose, but I feel like this one is like most relevant to the work that I'm doing and where my clients are at. And maybe what they need. So hopefully you find this inspiring. So owning your story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us the most vulnerable. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light.
That's beautiful. I love that. That completely encompasses everything. That's beautiful. Everyone's going to be Googling that quote after this. Spike in Brene Brown searches.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. She's a wise lady. I literally have Atlas of the Heart, her book, sitting right in front of me here.
Oh my God, yeah. Daring to be greatly.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to get that one next. I have it in my shopping cart. I just haven't got it yet. I'm like, okay, finish this one first, then you can buy that one.
Oh my God, I'm a nightmare for that. Yeah, I've got so many books I haven't read. I just get too excited. Yeah.
Me too. I'm the exact same, like right in front of me. I'm like, okay, girl, I'm like, you need to finish one and then continue. But I'm like, no.
I know. There needs to be a rule. Like, I'm not shopping on Amazon anymore until I've at least read one more book. Like, there needs to be like an exchange system happening here.
It's so true. I'm the exact same. Preach. I was going to ask you, do you follow the holistic psychologist at all? I feel like you would jive with. I figured you did.
Yes. Yeah. I was part of their Inner Circle membership.
What? So cool.
I love the work that they're doing, and their content on Instagram is awesome.
So good.
So yeah, I'm really valuable, really informative and insightful, and I like all their tips. And so I take a lot of inspiration actually with my content from them, but try and have my own sort of flavor.
Of course,
So I mean, on that note, for anyone that is interested about me and the work that I do, I'm sharing a lot of my transformation, like empowerment or like father wound content on Instagram. That is like my main platform.
It's awesome. Yes, share every single way
you.
we can connect with you, because you have lots of ways we can.
Yeah, so like I said, my Instagram's my main one, so it's at BU Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find me there.
I'll have
And
her
to be
tagged
honest,
as well on like our
thank
Instagram.
you.
Oh yeah, it'll all be
Thank
tagged,
you.
but just, yeah, for those who maybe don't have Instagram, I know you have a website as well, right?
I do. I
Puppy's
have.
like, hey.
Yeah, she's like, hey, give me attention. You've been speaking the phone long enough now. Come on then. But you know, to be honest, like I've got my Linktree link in my bio on my Instagram, and that has all my other links. So if you're interested in my website, my Facebook, if you are interested in scheduling a call with me, all of that is available from that one link in my bio on my Instagram page. So like I say, that there's an hour call available for you if you want to connect and experience a little bit of coaching with me and try and get some clarity and unpack your situation.
I love that. And like, what's your mission statement with your business? Like,
yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad you asked, because I often do. I kind of forget to mention in terms of like exactly what my mission is, and I just want to get it up to make sure I get it word for word.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't mess it up, Danny. So I've got my mission and my vision. Okay, so my mission statement, is that I help fatherless daughters to go from staying stuck in unhealthy relationships to fully showing up as your authentic self. So turning the pain from the past into a gift in the present, cultivate healthy boundaries, and become unlimited.
Oh, yes, Queen. Oh my God, I love that. I love the gift with the present. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And then in terms of my vision, is a world in which fatherless daughters are fully resourced to take action so they can reach their unlimited potential and be a catalyst for change, breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma.
Yes. Ooh, yes. I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so happy we connected. This has been such an enlightening and inspirational conversation, and your light literally just emanates from you, and like anyone watching or listening, they're going to feel that. And I just love so much seeing people find themselves and do what they're meant to do, and like and you're servicing humanity in the process. It's just like, it's just so much good that you're doing, and that's how we're going to create that wave of good energy across the world. And it's just amazing. So thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me today. I know we had to do a little bit of scheduling with our time difference, but we made it work. And I just really, truly thank you for joining us today.
Oh, honestly, thank you. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and thank you for asking me, all the questions and inviting me on, to help share what I do, and it is really close to my heart. And I'm really grateful for your time and opportunity and the platform to hopefully spread awareness and support people that need it. So, thank you.
Oh, yes. That's what that's what this podcast is for, is to, help people connect and not feel so alone, and just spread light to things like exactly like what you do. And this is just so like the synchronicity of it all, and just, the universe loves us, guys. This was amazing.
Thank you, Kaylee. It was so great to reconnect with you as well.
Of course.
Awesome. And I think the work that you're doing amazing. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, girl. We're going to change the world. Yes, all the magic. We love it. Oh, it's so good. So as you all heard, if you want to connect with Danni, it's BU Unlimited. That's the Instagram handle. It will be tagged. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll have it all in the description box. If you're listening via podcast, just you can search it. I'm sure they could Google as well. BU Unlimited, everything will pop up. And you can have a complimentary session if you feel called to with Danni. And thank you so much for joining us. And that's tea time. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.